Hi guys, it's Vishnya. In today's video, I will be showing you my sketching and coloring process and how I do these Genshin and anime drawings. And today's character is Durin, Durin from Genshin Impact. I will be showing you my kind of just process of it. Right now I'm starting out with the sketch, which I do with graphite mechanical pencils, but a lot of people use colored pencils to do their sketches, but I like graphite because I can like really erase it, and I am currently not at the skill level where I can just draw with colored ones and not worry about having to erase it, so that's why I'm doing it with this. This is also my first video I'm posting on here where I use my voice, and first long video, like long form video as well, so I'm gonna be saying and like probably a lot because I'm so camera shy, even though I'm not showing my face, but I'm trying to make this like a relaxing tutorial where you can kind of follow along or see how I do things if you want to. Right now I'm just sketching away. I like to, as if you rewind the video, I start with just a circle and kind of mapping out where I want to draw. And then I start with either the eyes or the face shape. I don't really have a particular way I like to start. It depends on the character. I kind of wing it and don't use much of a technique, but winging it and erasing it is my technique. So right now I'm sketching away at the hair and then, you know, working on the clothes. I kind of work everywhere at once, which is probably not the best thing to do, but that's, you know, how I do it. I probably need to learn how to work on the whole piece at once because that's what I've learned in art classes, but with anime drawings I just work everywhere, so that's how I draw right now. Durin is actually one of my favorite characters to draw, even though I've only drawn him this time, because he just has such a nice and sharp design, I guess you could say. And, you know, ever since I got him in the game, I'm like, man, I really want to draw him. His color palette's so pretty. And yeah, now I'm finally doing it, and I decided to make it like a longer form tutorial type video. At this point, I'm almost done with my sketch, so I guess I'll start talking about the materials I'll be using in the coloring portion of this. I like to use a mixture of different brands of colored pencil. I like to use Prismacolor, obviously, but they're kind of expensive, so I only have a few of those. But I also use Master's Touch, which is a brand that I have here locally, and I also use the Fine Touch. I think it's kind of like a rip-off of the Master's Touch. They're kind of a cheaper pencil, but they're dual-sided, meaning, you know, they have one color on one side and on the other, and they're really like handy for travel or whatnot because you can, you know, have a lot more colors for not as much like space taken. Also, the mechanical pencils I use are from a brand named Graph Gear, and I really like them. I'm using the 0.3 size, I think, and it's really nice because I can do all the fine details I want. And I use like a relatively lighter like pencil lead in them so that I can erase easily without having to worry about leaving marks on the paper. After I finish the sketch, I quickly go through and darken the corners because that gives the drawing more like depth and it makes it just look overall better. And next I'm going to use this muted purple color, but first I quickly have to fade the drawing with a kneaded eraser. It really just makes it easier to do the colored pencils. And so I'm going to quickly do that, and then I'm using the muted purple color to do the shadows. Even though shadows on human drawings are often done with blue because it's kind of a complementary color, purple or blues both work, and I just think the muted purple gives a better effect overall. So now I'm kind of going to all the like corners or areas with shadow and adding that purple lightly. I may darken it a little bit later on. Right now, just the basic, the neck where it's darker because of the shadow, and in the corner areas, the darkest of them all. Next, I'm going to use this light pink color. It's not a very bright pink, it's more of like a muted reddish pink, and I'm using that for the blush. Regardless of the character's gender, I will be doing a little bit of blush because it really makes the drawing more alive and gives them some color. I do it on the cheeks, and I dab a little bit on the nose, and then obviously the lips as well. And I also go in with a little bit of a reddish pink and do the lips again. Then I go over with a little bit of peach and do a little bit in the darker areas, and then this light peach shade is what I use for the skin, and I just kind of go over the whole area on top of the shadows and on top of the pink with this light peach shade, and that'll act as, you know, the skin tone for Durin. Next I have this Luskin Red, I think the color's called, and this is what I use for like lining the drawing and the outline of the skin, outline of the face, and it's kind of this reddish brown, and I really like it because it gives that darker outline look without looking too dark or too brown. It's just perfect and I love it so much. So I used it to line like the jaw, the neck, the lips, the nose, and now I'm working on the eyes and doing the eyelashes and the eyeliner and stuff like that, and just going through and doing that. Now I've got that muted violet shade back, and I'm going over and doing his eyebrows and his eyelashes, and after that I get light gray and I do the kind of shadow in the white of the eyes. And now his eyes, Durin's eyes, are very, very, very colorful, so I'm going through with yellow, orange, pink, and like a reddish orange or reddish pink shade, and then kind of more red, and then I think I'll end with purple. But his eyes are so pretty. It was really difficult to get all the colors right, but this is kind of a reddish purple, but I guess you could call it that. And then I go through the very dark purple on the top part so that it kind of draws out the eyes more. After that, I blend it all with a white pencil. That's what just makes it give it that like blended look. And then I'm going over with one of these jelly roll white gel pens and doing the pupil and the little sparkle in the eye, and after that I go through with the dark purple and line the eyelashes and such. And now I'm finally getting to the lining of the hair. I use that really dark purple shade and just line the entire hair. I kind of skip over a couple times because it's just a lot of line art. And now I get to lining the little rock crystals in his hair and his little horns as well. Finally, it's time for the hair rendering part. I'm really excited about this part, so I start with a little bit of a light pink, and then I go in with that muted purple, muted violet again, and I'm just kind of right now leaving little gaps for the kind of the shine in the hair, and just going over the whole hair and shading it in motions that kind of follow the way the hair flows. Instead of going horizontally, I'm going kind of vertically and following the flow of the hair with the lines. And I go through with like pinks and yellows. The yellow is the complementary color and it just gives a little pop to the drawing, and then going in with the dark purple now, a little, it's almost the same shade as the last one but slightly darker, and I'm just going through and highlighting all the shadow areas. After that, I use a pinky red shade to do those little red tips to his hair and kind of blend them together. Now after finishing the hair, I'm gonna go and work on the little crystal horn bits in his hair with a dark purple base and then black on top to kind of give it a depth, and I'm doing that with a little crystal as well. And then I'm going over with my jelly roll and giving it like a little sparkle. And now finally getting to the horns. It was tricky to figure out how to do these, but I just started with like a purple base, went over with black, and I think I blended it with a bit of a gray pencil, I believe. Now the last bit of the horns is like the purpley bit, and it was such a unique color, but I decided to do it with like a light purple shade, and then also I will use like a light blue to kind of go over it right now and give it like that color it has, and finally blending it with a white pencil that just brings the whole thing together. Now I'm finally starting the clothing, and I'm starting out with lining it with a black pencil because the clothing is pretty dark, so it works. I actually struggled a lot with Durin's clothing because the reference I used had his kind of undershirt as a brown shade, but his official model has it more of a black, so I was struggling to get like the perfect balance. So in a moment you'll see me struggling, but first I'm gonna get on to the rendering of the metal parts. They're not exactly metal parts, but silver parts, so I'm just working on that. I use a very light gray, and kind of map out where things are going to be, and then I use purples, blue, and a silver type pencil to render them. When it comes to metal, I like to kind of do darker bits and, lighter bits to kind of give it that shine. So, I use the reference a little bit, but I kind of wing it when it comes to this and just hope it turns out good. And I think once you see the final product, I think it looks pretty good. Now I'm starting to work on his little heart, and that was actually pretty difficult because it has like a red kind of crystally look. So I kind of went through it with different shades of pinks and reds and continued rendering it until it looked like what I wanted it to. And I used like a peachy tone and then a yellow for the little star sparkle. Finally, I'm finishing off the heart by blending it with a white pencil because that just gives it a bit more of a shiny look. And after that, I go over any part that I think needs to be darkened and continue to work on it, blending, working, blending, working, a continual process until it looks like what I like. Now I'm back onto the clothing, and I started out with this is the struggling part. I started out with a pinky shade because I had that pinkish brown in the reference, and then I went over with this light brown and then the Luskin red, and I'm just at this point struggling. I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going through with that and covering the entire surface of this undershirt with the brown. And you'll see in a minute that I kind of changed my mind about the brown because I find a different reference photo. So here we are, and I go over again with yet another brown, trying to get it to work. Still struggling with it. But at least the brown gives the drawing kind of a texture and a little bit of something different than just pure black. But it works out in the end. But here it is, a third shade of brown I'm going over it with, a dark brown this time. And then, oh, yet another shade of brown. I didn't realize I did that much, oh my. But this just shows how much of a process art is, and just experimenting until you get it right, and that's what I like about colored pencils. You really can layer them a lot, and if you mess up, you can just try to erase them and then cover them with something darker, so I like color pencils quite a bit for that. At this point, the drawing is getting a little bit shiny because the brown is like so layered, so sorry about that. The light is just shining everywhere. I filmed kind of in the dark, so in the dark with some really bright lights, so that's why it's so shiny and everything. But now I'm finally onto the black, and as you can see, because of all the layers of brown, it's not like a pure dark black, but I actually think it ended up working out in the end and looking really, really good, so I'm actually happy my mistakes made it work. And honestly, like, drawing this was so much fun, and I really loved Durin as a character and his whole design and look, so it was so much fun, and the whole process was very enjoyable. And I hope you all enjoyed this and found this helpful in any way. I tried my best explaining, though I don't really know what I'm doing. I kind of just wing it when I draw. But let me know in the comments below what you think, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. If you'd like more content like this, let me know. I plan to post a sketchbook tour in the future when I finish my sketchbook, but that's probably going to take a while because these drawings take forever. Oh yeah, and I also wanted to disclose I'm not sponsored by any of these pencil brands or anything. I realized at the start I didn't mention that, but yeah, I just use whatever. And this all would work with any pencil brand you want to use. Those are just the ones I said at the start were just my personal ones I use and what I have access to. But, the amazing thing about art is you can just use whatever you have and make something beautiful. Also, I'm gonna rant for a second, but I'm so excited for the next patch coming up in Genshin, the Snezhnaya arc. I'm so excited because it's been a while since they've released a bunch of new characters, so I can't wait to draw all their designs, because at this point I've drawn so many characters from the game that I've almost been running out of characters to draw, which is crazy. But for now, I think the next character I plan to draw is probably Lohin. I really absolutely love his character design and him as a character, so that would be a lot of fun. I don't know if I want to do watercolor or colored pencil yet, but I'll figure that out when the time comes. And would you look at that, my drawing is almost done. Right now I'm going through and you know, redoing some of the shadows and blush and skin, because after my hand, you know, goes over the drawing so many times, it blends it a little bit, and also when I finish all the other parts, it's good to do that to kind of pull everything together. Finally, it's time for the last part, the background, and I use this palish blue shade, I think it was ultramarine maybe, and I just do vertical lines in the background. It's a simple background, but I think it looks really good and kind of makes the whole drawing pop more, and I probably should start eventually doing more intricate backgrounds, but I think this looks really nice and simple and makes the drawing the main focus. And now that it's coming to an end, I just wanted to say, like, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a nice comment, or if you want to, consider subscribing. I know it's kind of the generic YouTuber thing, but it really means a lot to me. And thank you for watching through this whole video. And if you'd like more content like this, let me know in the comments below. Here's the finished drawing. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope this tutorial was helpful for you.